Chapter 4154. Yi Yu wanted to call the others over to help him block the living beings transformed from the futons, so that he could free up his hands to deal with Lu Ming. Now, with so many creatures pouncing on them, it was difficult for him to attack Lu Ming with all his might. If he couldn't, he wouldn't be able to break through Lu Ming's first-class celestial soldier armor. He needed to use all his strength to break through the defense of the first-class celestial soldier armor. Let's go. Attack. The geniuses of the heavenly human tribe and the core disciples of the heavenly palace rushed toward Lu Ming and the others. As they rushed out, their bodies emitted dazzling rays of light. They were all wearing extremely high-level battle armor, similar to the armor of a first-class heavenly soldier. Their defensive power was astonishing. This was their confidence. Otherwise, they would not dare to rashly charge over in the face of so many living beings formed from praying mats. At the same time, weapons appeared in their hands. These weapons emitted powerful waves of energy. They were all great killing weapons. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Before he arrived, attacks flew out one after another, flying towards the living beings formed by the praying mats around Yi Yu, blocking those living beings. This way, Yi Yu was able to free up his hands. Muyun. Yi Yu's eyes were cold as he looked at Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming used the greater godly wind technique. His body flashed continuously, dodging the attack of a creature on a futon, and continued to run forward. Kill. Yi Yu hollered, his golden hair flying in the wind. He swept out his silver spear, sending a few living creatures flying. He took a step forward and chased after Lu Ming like a bolt of lightning. The core disciples of the heavenly human race and the heavenly palace had already rushed over. With so many people attacking at the same time, they kept attacking the futon creatures, blocking all the futon creatures that were charging toward Yi Yu. As a result, Yi Yu's speed increased greatly and he caught up with Lu Ming in no time. Swoosh. The silver spear pierced through the void like a bolt of silver lightning, thrusting towards Lu Ming. Because Lu Ming had to deal with the praying mat creatures, and because the silver spear was too fast, he couldn't dodge it in time and was stabbed directly. Clang. The sound of metal clashing rang out. The light barrier formed by the first-grade celestial soldier armor was constantly trembling. Lu Ming was pushed forward by a powerful force, and in front of him, several praying mats charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming hurriedly drew out the power inside the zephyr bead to block the creatures on the futons. At this time, Lu Ming felt that the energy of the first-class heavenly soldier battle armor on his body was almost exhausted. What a powerful attack! It's comparable to the strength of the third great supreme god layer. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Yi Yu was really strong. After using his deadly weapon, his attacks were comparable to a real cultivator of the third great supreme god layer. It was even stronger than Lu Ming's mysterious ice rod. Little brat die. Yi Yu's eyes were filled with murderous intent. His silver spear thrusted towards Lu Ming again. The first attack broke through the defense of Lu Ming's first-grade celestial soldier battle armor. The second attack would kill Lu Ming. That was his plan. Although Lu Ming was talented, if he could subdue him, he would be of great use to him. But he could see that with Lu Ming's temperament, he couldn't subdue him. Since he couldn't subdue him, he couldn't use him, and he had already offended him, he couldn't let him live. He had to get rid of him. Whoosh! The silver spear thrusted towards Lu Ming's head again. Danger! At this moment, Lu Ming felt deeply threatened. Yi Yu's attack had reached the strength of the third great supreme god layer. If he was hit, even if his vitality was extremely strong, he would still be in danger. The attack of a third great supreme god layer was enough to destroy all the cells in his body. At this moment, Lu Ming only had two choices. One was to use the mysterious ice rod to block Yi Yu's attack. But even if Lu Ming used the mysterious ice rod, his fighting strength couldn't compare to Yi Yu's. Even if he could block the attack, he would be injured and sent flying. If it was any other place, it would be fine. The key was that there were praying mat creatures everywhere. These praying mat creatures were all very terrifying. If he was blasted away and surrounded by these praying mat creatures, he would be in an even more passive and dangerous situation. The other option was to use the greater teleportation technique to leave. But Lu Ming wasn't sure. There was a strong pressure here. He couldn't even fly. How could he teleport? But how would he know if he didn't try? Lu Ming decided to use both options at the same time. He used the mysterious ice rod while using the greater teleportation technique. While using the greater teleportation technique, he felt a strong pressure all around him. It was as if he was in a quagmire. There was a strong force pulling him from all directions. But what made Lu Ming happy was that this force didn't completely lock Lu Ming in place. Lu Ming felt that there was still some space. Get out of here! Lu Ming roared in his heart. He gave up on using the mysterious ice rod, and used all his strength to use the greater teleportation technique. Finally, Lu Ming seemed to have forcibly broken free from the pulling force around him. His figure disappeared from the spot. Just as Lu Ming's figure disappeared from the spot, Yi Yu's long spear pierced the spot where Lu Ming was standing just now. As soon as Lu Ming disappeared, Yi Yu's spear pierced nothing. The terrifying force pierced a hole in the praying mat creature in front of him. The creature trembled a few times and then dissipated. It turned back into a praying mat and fell to the ground. It seemed that this praying mat creature wasn't completely invincible. It was just too difficult. Yi Yu's move just now was almost at the peak of his combat strength. That was why he defeated it in one move. Damn it! Yi Yu roared in his heart and looked forward. 100 meters away, Lu Ming's figure appeared. That's right. Lu Ming used the greater teleportation technique, and only moved 100 meters away. Originally, in other places, Lu Ming could use the greater teleportation technique to move at least 10,000 miles away. But the pressure here was too strong. When Lu Ming used the greater teleportation technique, although he broke free from the pulling force, it was still greatly affected. Its power was greatly reduced, and he could only move 100 meters away. But Lu Ming was already overjoyed. This place was not like other places. It was full of thousands of praying mats. It was not easy to move 10 meters, let alone 100 meters. In this place, teleporting 100 meters was enough. Damn it. Let's attack together. Don't let that kid escape. Yi Yu roared furiously. He led the Heavenly Human Clan's experts and the core disciples of the Heavenly Palace's big shots to charge toward Lu Ming. With so many of them working together, their speed was very fast. However, before they could move 100 meters, Lu Ming used the greater teleportation technique again and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was 100 meters away. 100 meters, that's enough. That stone wall is mine. Lu Ming's eyes were burning. He continued to use the greater teleportation technique and moved 100 meters closer to the stone wall. Chapter 4155. Lu Ming constantly approached the stone wall. Those praying mats simply could not hit Lu Ming. Lu Ming constantly dodged them. His speed was much faster than Yi Yu and the others. This made Yi Yu and the others very anxious. Mu Yun, that stone wall is mine. If you dare to touch it, I guarantee that I will make you suffer an incomparably miserable fate. I guarantee, Yi Yu roared. Lu Ming snorted disdainfully. He simply could not be bothered with Yi Yu and continued towards the stone wall. There was a distance of at least tens of thousands of meters from the outermost area to the stone wall. The distance was not considered short. Lu Ming shifted 10 times in a row, and shifted a distance of about 1,000 meters. He then let out a long breath. It consumed too much energy. Although he could use the greater teleportation technique here, every time he did so, it consumed a lot of energy. Furthermore, the energy consumption was even greater than outside. After continuously shifting 10 times, Lu Ming felt his energy rapidly depleting. If this continued, he might not be able to reach the stone wall before exhausting all his energy. Major Primal Pill. With a thought, a Longan-sized divine pill appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The divine pill was green in color, and filled with the fragrance of plants. This kind of medicinal pill contained incomparably pure and dense life essence. In the great desolate universe, it was priceless. Every single one of them was extremely valuable. Sometimes it could not be bought even if one had the money. This was what Lu Ming had exchanged for at the Merit Exchange Hall in the Heavenly Palace. Because the elvenwood core on hand was almost used up, Lu Ming had exchanged for some secret techniques and ancient secret techniques at the Merit Exchange Hall the last time, as well as various divine pills. Most of the divine pills were like the elvenwood core, replenishing life essence. The major primal pill was one of the top divine pills. It contained dense life essence and was incomparably pure. It could be rapidly absorbed and converted. Its effects were even better than the elvenwood core. Opening his mouth, Lu Ming sucked the major primal pill into his mouth. The pure life force surged into Lu Ming's body and quickly turned into forbidden energy, replenishing Lu Ming's strength. Then Lu Ming continued executing the greater teleportation technique, approaching that stone wall. Seeing Lu Ming getting closer and closer to the stone wall, Yi was furious. His eyes were ferocious as he stared at Lu Ming. "Quick, charge with all your might, charge with all your might." Yi roared and rushed forward with all his might. He cooperated with the other heavenly human tribe geniuses and the core disciples of the heavenly palace. Their speed was also very fast, but compared to Lu Ming, they were still a bit slower. Just like that, every time he teleported, he would get 100 meters closer to the stone wall. When he didn't have enough strength, he would use the Great Yuan to supplement it. After a period of time, Lu Ming finally got close to the stone wall. Once he was within 1,000 meters of the stone wall, those praying mats stopped and didn't continue attacking Lu Ming. This way, Lu Ming was much more relaxed. Finally, he didn't need to continue using the greater teleportation technique. He took large strides and ran with all his might, covering 1,000 meters in an instant. Collect it. Once he was under the stone wall, Lu Ming took out a high-level storage ring. Facing the stone wall, he circulated his forbidden energy. Instantly, a surge of energy enveloped the stone wall. With a buzz, the entire stone wall disappeared. Lu Ming had collected it into the storage ring. Success. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He was originally worried that this stone wall wouldn't be easy to collect. He didn't expect to succeed so easily. In the next moment, Lu Ming was slightly taken aback as he looked ahead. It turned out that there was another world behind the stone wall. Previously, because the stone wall had blocked his view, Lu Ming didn't see the situation behind the stone wall. At this moment, the first thing that came into view was a road paved with white jade. On both sides of the road stood 9 statues. There were a total of 18 statues. Some were in the shape of beasts, while others were in the shape of humans. At the end of the road there was a chair. On the chair sat a person. No, to be precise, it wasn't a person. It was also a statue. This statue was about the height of an ordinary person. It looked like it was carved out of a whole piece of fine jade. In the hand of this fine jade statue floated a black stone. Yes, it looked like a piece of black stone that was casually picked up in some mountainous area. It looked ordinary and didn't have the slightest abnormality. However, for some reason, Lu Ming's first impression was that this black stone was extraordinary. Should I go and take it? A thought came to Lu Ming's mind. Kid, hand over the stone wall for me. Behind him, Yi led his men and charged madly. However, they were still some distance away. Let's give it a try. Lu Ming made his decision. This was because the position of the white jade statue was at the very center of the training hall. Generally speaking, the thing at the very center was the best. Although Lu Ming didn't know what the black stone in the statue's hand was, it was better to get it first. Lu Ming stepped forward along the white jade path. As he walked, Lu Ming was very cautious. His mind was highly focused as he paid attention to the 18 statues on both sides. Who knew if the statues on both sides would suddenly move and attack him? It wasn't like he hadn't experienced something like this before. However, Lu Ming soon realized that he was worrying too much. He passed through several statues in a row without any abnormalities. Those statues were dead. They weren't puppets, nor were they anything else. They seemed to be just statues, motionless. Lu Ming increased his speed. Soon, Lu Ming was about to pass through the last 2 statues and arrive in front of the white jade statue sitting on the chair. At this moment, Lu Ming felt a surge of energy shrouding him. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as his expression changed. This was because this power gave off an ancient and lofty feeling, as if it belonged to the entire universe. It was unparalleled and incomparably powerful. This force suddenly pressed down on Lu Ming's body. Block it! Lu Ming shouted. Taboo energy erupted from his body, covering his body to resist the force outside. It was strange. That surge of power was very scary, but it was not very strong. Lu Ming's taboo force supported it, and it was able to withstand it. Then that force rapidly weakened. In the next moment, that force disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming took a step forward and crossed the range of the 18 statues. He was less than 500 meters away from the white jade statue. Even in this environment, Lu Ming only needed a few steps to cross 500 meters. Lu Ming took a step forward and was already 100 meters away. He was close to the white jade statue. At this time, Yi Yu and the others finally rushed past the range of the praying mat creatures and arrived on the white jade path. Charge! They didn't hesitate and directly rushed towards the white jade path. They were naturally relieved when they saw that Lu Ming was completely fine. They rushed towards Lu Ming as fast as they could. However, when they stepped onto the white jade path, the statues suddenly moved. Chapter 4156. Swoosh! Swoosh! Two statues wielded huge battle swords and slashed at Yi Yu and the others. What's going on? Watch out! Yi Yu and the others were shocked and tried to defend themselves. Yi Yu was strong. His silver spear shot out like a bolt of lightning and collided with one of the battle swords. Boom! There was a loud boom as the statue's blade was blocked. However, the spear in Yi Yu's hand also shook violently. He was forced to take several steps back before he could stabilize himself. Yi Yu had blocked the attack, but the others were not as strong as him. The geniuses of the heavenly human tribe joined hands and used their weapons to attack the battle swords of the statues. Then they groaned and were blown away like cannonballs. The weapons in their hands smashed onto their own bodies, creating loud booms. Fortunately, they were all wearing high-level battle suits that blocked these attacks. Otherwise, they would have been seriously injured even if they didn't die. The two statues were not the only ones attacking. There were also a few beast-shaped statues. They attacked the core disciples of the heavenly human tribe and the heavenly palace with their huge claws. Those statues were extremely strong. Each of them had the strength of the third great supreme god layer. Apart from Yi Yu, no one could block them, even if they used their weapons. Bang! 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 The geniuses of the heavenly human tribe and the core disciples of the heavenly palace were blown away like sandbags. Luckily, they were wearing battle clothes that could withstand a full-strength attack from a cultivator of the third great supreme god layer. That was how they managed to block the attack of the statue. They were only slightly injured. Yi Yu was the only one who could block the attacks of those statues. Damn it! Don't try to stop me! Shouted Yi Yu. His body was covered by a layer of strange energy. His body suddenly became illusory. He kept flickering in the air and dodged some of the statue's attacks. Of course, he didn't dodge all of them. Some attacks were aimed at him, and he blocked them with his full strength. He charged forward with all his might, dodging the statues one by one. Finally, he charged past 16 statues and arrived in front of the last two statues. Wang! At that moment, a wave of power surged towards Yi Yu. This power was grand and ancient, causing Yi Yu's expression to greatly change. He hurriedly used all of his strength to block it. Boom! In the next moment, this power slammed into Yi Yu's body. Yi Yu's body shook violently, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He was blasted off the white jade path and fell to the ground. The light of his battle suit dimmed, and it was clear that its energy had been exhausted. Damn it, how is this possible? Yi Yu roared in his heart, his expression extremely ugly. He couldn't figure out how Lu Ming was able to pass through. When Lu Ming went over just now, those statues were no different from rocks and did not move at all. Why did those statues move and attack them when they went over? Also, what was with the last force? The last burst of power was grand and ancient, unfathomable. He couldn't withstand it at all, and was directly blasted out. But how did Lu Ming get past it? Lu Ming's strength was clearly not on par with his, so how could he pass through? Yi Yu couldn't figure it out. In fact, Lu Ming couldn't figure it out either. He originally saw Yi Yu rushing to the end, and was prepared to fight with him, but he didn't expect him to be blasted away. There was indeed a force between the last two statues, but he blocked it for a while, and that force disappeared. Yi Yu was stronger than him, so how could he be blasted away? He couldn't figure it out, but it was a good thing. Lu Ming smiled, turned around, and continued to walk towards the white jade statue sitting on the chair. leaving behind Yu and the others with extremely ugly expressions. Recover on the spot. That brat will definitely come out later. When he comes out, it will be his death. Yu said coldly, the murderous intent in his eyes extremely strong. He had already marked Lu Ming on his must-kill list in his heart. However, he didn't dare to continue on the White Jade path. The energy of his battle suit had been exhausted, and it couldn't withstand the attacks of those statues. He could only recover first, and so did the others. Fortunately, there was a buffer zone between the being on the futon and the White Jade path. In this area, it was safe, and they could recover in peace. While Yu and the others were recovering, Lu Ming had already arrived in front of the White Jade statue sitting on the chair. Lu Ming was very cautious. He carefully observed and didn't act rashly. Who knew if the White Jade statue would suddenly attack, or what kind of terrifying attack it contained? The statue was the size of an ordinary person. It was a middle-aged man with a crown on his head, and it was lifelike and full of majesty. Just by looking at the statue, one could tell that the person in the statue was definitely in existence with great power. This is the core of the main training ground. Could the person in the statue be the master of the primordial celestial court? A thought surfaced in Lu Ming's mind. As soon as this thought surfaced, Lu Ming was shocked and his heart started beating violently. If it was true, it would be a big deal. The primordial celestial court was an existence that dared to challenge the heavenly palace. The master of the primordial celestial court was definitely an unimaginably powerful expert, the true overlord of the eldritch universe. If such a person left behind any treasures, it would be unimaginable. Lu Ming couldn't help but look at the black stone in the White Jade statue's hand. The black stone looked very ordinary, and was no different from a random stone picked up by the roadside. However, if the statue was really the master of the primordial celestial court, then the black stone was definitely extraordinary. Is there any danger? How can I get it? Bone Demon, do you feel any danger? Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Bone Demon. I'm not sure. Bone Demon stammered. You're not sure either? Lu Ming was even more shocked. Bone Demon had always been mysterious, and he had always called himself the ancestor of the demonic way. How could he not know? I really don't know. The person in the statue is probably stronger than me at my peak. It's normal that I don't know, Bone Demon said. Lu Ming was even more shocked. This was the first time Bone Demon had said that someone was stronger than him at his peak. Could this statue really be the master of the primordial celestial court? At this moment, something strange happened. Lu Ming found that the eyes of the White Jade statue seemed to be glowing with two white lights. The two white lights rotated like two vortexes. Then Lu Ming felt his head sink, and his vision fell into darkness. However, the darkness didn't last long, and light appeared again. Then, Lu Ming felt that the place he was standing in had changed. He was standing in the middle of a void. Around him were halos that danced continuously. These halos were constantly changing. Sometimes they turned into a tiger, sometimes a divine sword, and sometimes flames, ice, and so on. Chapter 4157. Lu Ming looked at the constantly changing halos around him, and widened his eyes in shock. He felt that these halos were all transformed from the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. Now that he had mastered many ancient secret techniques, he was extremely sensitive to ancient secret techniques, and could easily capture the aura of the ancient secret techniques. Lu Ming scanned with his spiritual consciousness, and found that there were exactly 3,000 of these halos. Lu Ming couldn't help but reach out, and try to grab a halo in his hand. However, he caught nothing and the halo flowed through his fingers. Lu Ming was disappointed. These halos weren't real. They were all illusory. These are all illusory imprints. You can't catch them, nor can you take them. At this moment, a voice sounded not far away from Lu Ming. Lu Ming was shocked and quickly looked over. He found a figure in front of him. He was attracted by the halos and didn't notice this figure at all. What surprised Lu Ming was that this figure looked exactly the same as the White Jade statue from before. You are the Lord of the Ancient Divine Court? Lu Ming couldn't help but blurt out. However, the figure shook his head and said, I'm not the Lord of the Ancient Divine Court. To be precise, I'm the spirituality of the White Jade statue you saw before. However, the white jade statue you saw was indeed carved in imitation of the Lord of the ancient divine court. I see. Lu Ming finally understood. To be precise, the white jade statue was indeed the Lord of the ancient divine court. However, the figure in front of him wasn't the Lord of the ancient divine court, but the spirituality of the statue itself. Senior, where am I? Lu Ming asked again. You're inside the body of the white jade statue. To be precise, these are all illusory. You're not in your body, but your consciousness. Just now, I pulled your consciousness in. The spirituality of the white jade statue said. Lu Ming had a sudden realization. He then asked, Senior, why did you pull my consciousness in? It's very simple. I'm passing the archaic divine stone to you. The spirituality of the white jade statue said. Archaic god stone? What is it? The black stone outside? Lu Ming immediately thought of the black stone in the hands of the white jade statue outside, and blurted out subconsciously. Black stone? Hee, that's a primal god stone, one of the most precious treasures in the entire universe. Do you know where the primal divine court's 3,000 primal secret techniques came from? It was comprehended from the archaic god stone. The spirituality of the white jade statue said. What? Lu Ming's heart was violently shaken, as if the seas and rivers had been overturned. The primeval divine court's 3,000 primeval secret skills all came from the primeval divine stone. This was completely different from what he had imagined. He used to think that the 3,000 ancient secret arts were created out of thin air by the peerless experts of the archaic divine court. Now it seemed that was not the case at all. Senior, are you saying that the archaic godstone contains the 3,000 ancient secret arts? Lu Ming said, his heart beating faster. If the primordial divine stone contained the 3,000 ancient secret arts, wouldn't he have struck it rich? Wouldn't he be able to gather all the 3,000 ancient secret arts in one go? No. The other party shook his head and said, there is not a single ancient secret art in the primeval divine stone. Not even a single ancient secret art? Senior, didn't you say that the 3,000 ancient secret arts came from the primeval divine stone? Lu Ming showed a trace of disappointment. The 3,000 ancient secret arts did come from the primeval divine stone, but it does not mean that the primeval divine stone contains all the 3,000 ancient secret arts. In fact, the primeval divine stone contains all the possibilities. The primeval divine stone sees the fortune of heaven and earth, mysterious and unpredictable. Its origin is unknown, as if it contains all the great Daos of the universe. Others can comprehend their own secret arts and great Daos through the primeval divine stone. In the past, the master of the primal divine court accidentally obtained the primeval divine stone. Through the primeval divine stone, he comprehended various ancient secret arts. That is how the ancient secret arts came to be. The spirituality of the white jade statue explained. Lu Ming understood. The ancient secret arts were comprehended through the primeval divine stone, and not originally contained in the primeval divine stone. In the past, the master of the primal divine court was unparalleled in talent. After he obtained the primeval divine stone, he comprehended 3,000 secret arts from the primeval divine stone. These 3,000 secret arts are collectively known as the 3,000 ancient secret arts. Later on, he established the primal divine court, and passed down the 3,000 ancient secret arts to the outside world. The spirituality of the white jade statue explained. Senior, you mean to say that there are more than 3,000 ancient secret arts that can be comprehended from the primeval divine stone? Lu Ming asked. That's right. In theory, the primeval divine stone has endless possibilities. Comprehending countless secret arts from it depends on one's talent. The ancient secret arts that a person comprehended can be strong or weak. Some are extremely strong, while some are ordinary. For example, the 3,000 ancient secret arts. The spirituality of the white jade statue said. Lu Ming felt his breathing getting heavier. This was even more precious than the 3,000 ancient secret arts. As long as one was talented enough, there were endless possibilities. This was too amazing. Such a treasure could really be called one of the top treasures in the universe. Now, such a treasure was about to fall into his hands. Even with Lu Ming's temperament, he couldn't help but feel a little excited. Lu Ming forced himself to calm down and said, "Senior, I want to know why you imparted the primeval divine stone to me. I'm not the only one outside." With Lu Ming's intelligence, how could he not know that the other party had deliberately chosen him? Therefore, when he entered the white jade path, the statues on both sides didn't move. When the last force appeared, Lu Ming resisted it for a while before it disappeared. When Yi Yu and the others entered, they were attacked by the statues. In the end, Yi Yu was even sent flying. Only a fool wouldn't notice such an obvious difference in treatment. The people outside are all from the Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace destroyed the archaic divine court back then. This hatred is irreconcilable. Why would I choose them to help the enemy? The spirituality of the white jade statue said coldly. But I'm also from the Heavenly Palace. Lu Ming said. You're from the fake Heavenly Palace, aren't you? A taboo body. You're the sworn enemy of the Heavenly Palace. How could you be from the Heavenly Palace? You entered the Heavenly Palace on purpose, didn't you? I have to say you're really brave, hee. The spirituality of the white jade statue said. Lu Ming was shocked. He couldn't help but take 2 steps back. He stared at the other party and said, "How did you know?" "It's normal for me to know because the master of the archaic divine court was also a taboo body. I sensed it when you entered the vicinity." The spirituality of the white jade statue said. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that the master of the archaic divine court was also a taboo body. Chapter 4158. It was beyond Lu Ming's expectation that the master of the ancient divine court was also a taboo being. No wonder the master of the grand ancient divine court was able to comprehend 3,000 kinds of ancient secret techniques. It turns out that he has a forbidden body. Even if he comprehended so many ancient secret techniques, it would be useless. Only a forbidden body is beneficial. The more secret techniques one can comprehend, the better. Lu Ming's mind raced, and he figured out many things that he couldn't figure out. Senior, could it be that the master of the primeval divine court has truly fallen? Lu Ming asked again. Yes, he's dead. He's completely dead. There's no way he can be resurrected. The spirituality of the white jade statue said. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely solemn. The master of the ancient divine court, whose cultivation had reached an unfathomable level, was also a taboo being, and had mastered 3,000 ancient secret techniques. Such an existence was actually dead. In that case, it was easy to imagine how terrifying the person who could kill him was. Obviously, the master of the ancient divine court died at the hands of the Heavenly Palace. What was the origin of the Heavenly Palace? Why was it so powerful? Senior, how did the war between the ancient divine court and the Heavenly Palace break out? What was the process of the war? Also, why are the taboo being and the Heavenly Palace's sworn enemies? Lu Ming asked a few questions. He had always heard that the taboo being and the Heavenly Palace were sworn enemies. Sooner or later, they would be on opposite sides, but he didn't know why. I'm not very sure. After all, I'm just a spirituality born from a statue. When I was born, the ancient divine court had already been destroyed. The statue shook its head. Lu Ming was greatly disappointed. The doubts in his heart still couldn't be answered. Senior, the ancient godstone is so precious. If you leave it here, aren't you afraid that the powerful existences of the Heavenly Palace will forcibly break in and take it away? Lu Ming asked again. The archaic heavenly stone was definitely the core treasure of the archaic celestial court. The Heavenly Palace would definitely want it. However, the archaic world was under the control of the Heavenly Palace. Don't worry. If anyone below the Divine Lord level enters the Heavenly Palace, they won't be able to take it away. If anyone above the Divine Lord level enters, they won't be able to enter. The archaic world is protected by a formation. If anyone tries to break it by force, the archaic world will self-destruct. As for me, I'll take the archaic godstone and escape into the dark void of the universe. Alright, I've basically told you everything I wanted to tell you. I'll send you back now. After the spirituality of the white jade statue finished speaking, Lu Ming felt his vision blur. He had already left the void and his consciousness had returned to his body. That primordial divine stone is already in my mind, But this is... As soon as Lu Ming came out, he felt that something was wrong. He sensed that there was something new in his sea of consciousness, and upon closer inspection, he realized that it was the black stone, the primeval god stone. However, the black stone was clearly still in the palm of the white jade statue. No, the stone in the white jade statue's hand isn't real. It's just an illusion. Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he realized what was going on. The stone in the white jade statue's hand was just an illusion. However, if one didn't look closely, they wouldn't be able to tell. If Lu Ming hadn't noticed the primeval godstone in his sea of consciousness, he wouldn't have been able to tell. Then his body was enveloped by a force and disappeared from the spot. He was gone. Yi Yu and the rest watched helplessly as Lu Ming disappeared before their eyes. Bam! A burning anger exploded in Yi Yu's heart, and his eyes turned red. He had planned to block Lu Ming here, but now, Lu Ming had disappeared right under his nose. His plan was foiled again. Damn it, damn it. Hurry up and recover. Let's kill our way back. Yi Yu roared. However, there was no other way. The energy of their battle suits hadn't recovered yet, so they didn't dare to retreat. If they retreated now, they wouldn't be a match for the creatures on the futons. No matter how angry and unwilling they were, they could only wait. At this moment, Lu Ming had appeared in another place. This is a dojo below. Lu Ming glanced around and found that he had returned to the dojo they had just entered. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. He understood why the white jade statue had an illusion of the primeval godstone in its hand. It was to protect him. In this way, in the eyes of Yi Yu and the others, Lu Ming hadn't taken the black stone. After leaving this place, the people of the heavenly palace wouldn't know that he had taken the black stone, which was the primeval godstone. If the people of the heavenly palace found out that he had taken the primeval godstone, he would be in danger. He might not even be able to keep his life, let alone the primeval godstone. Afterward, Lu Ming scanned the surroundings and saw many people searching the mountains and plains. They were all Emperor God experts from the archaic world. These people had been robbed by Lu Ming, so their insights and imprints were all in Lu Ming's hands. Now they could only search the mountains for what they had missed. Lu Ming smiled and didn't make things difficult for these people. He went back the way he had come, and went back to the great sorcerer god palace. He found that the first-class celestial soldiers had also returned. The first-class celestial soldiers were surprised to see Lu Ming come out. Previously, when they saw Yi Yu and the others chasing after Lu Ming, they thought that Lu Ming was most likely going to die. They didn't expect that he would be able to return unscathed. What a surprise! After greeting the Grand Sorcerer God Palace Master and the others, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and waited quietly. They didn't have to wait for long before the Emperor God experts from the archaic world returned from the great ancient dojo. When the people from the archaic world saw Lu Ming, they had mixed feelings. There was hatred, fear, and anger. Palace Master, this brat stole our insights and imprints in the great ancient dojo. Palace Master, please help us. An elder bowed to the Grand Sorcerer God Palace Master and cried out. This old man was none other than Feng He. What's going on? The Grand Sorcerer God Palace Master frowned. That brat from the outside world, Mu Yun, didn't get any insights or imprints. Instead, he stole all of our insights and imprints. Feng He wept and said with a mournful face. The Grand Sorcerer God Palace Master frowned slightly and looked at Lu Ming. They wanted to steal from me first. They weren't strong enough and I took it back. Lu Ming said flatly. Feng He, is that what happened? The Grand Sorcerer God Palace Master looked at Feng He. Feng He stammered and didn't know what to say. After a while, he turned his gaze and said, What about them? You took the initiative to steal from them, right? Feng He pointed at the others. Lu Ming had indeed taken the initiative to steal from them. Chapter 4159. Lu Ming smiled faintly and said, You people from the Archean world tried to steal my insights and markings as soon as you saw me. I didn't trust you, so I had to strike first. What's wrong? Can't I? You are being unreasonable. Feng He pointed at Lu Ming. His body could not stop trembling. He was infuriated. That's enough. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master said coldly. I already know about this. Let's leave it at that. You tried to steal someone else's gains first, and then you were robbed by someone else. You can't blame anyone else for that. Master. Feng He wanted to say more. That's enough. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master frowned and said in a cold voice. He was displeased. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple only cared about the results. They couldn't care less about the process. They only wanted the insights and markings left behind by the experts of the Archean Divine Court. They couldn't care less about the process. They had to give rewards anyway. They couldn't care less if Lu Ming stole someone else's insights and markings, or if someone else stole Lu Ming's insights and markings. To put it bluntly, they had to rely on their own abilities to make a living. They would give rewards to whoever obtained the insights and markings. Seeing the Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master's displeasure, Feng He didn't dare to say anything else. He could only swallow his pride. All right, now that everyone is out, let's leave this place and see what you have gained. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master said with a hint of anxiety and anticipation in his eyes. The insights and markings in the great ancient ritual ground were too important for their Archean secret skills. They left the place and returned to the main hall of the Grand Sorcerer God Temple. Take out your gains. I will reward you according to the previous conditions. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master said. After he finished speaking, he scanned the crowd. The people from the Archean world looked pale and hesitated for a long time. Only a few of them took out a few insights and markings. The master of the Great Sorcerer Divine Temple and the other experts were surprised. Could it be that Lu Ming had snatched all their gains? They couldn't help but look forward to Lu Ming's harvest. They secretly hoped that there would be a big harvest. Otherwise, this harvest would be too miserable. Following that, the first-class heavenly soldier also took out their gains. The first-class celestial soldiers had a good harvest, which made the people of the Grand Sorcerer Temple smile. According to our agreement, one ancient secret technique's comprehension, or imprint in exchange for one ancient secret technique. I'll give it to you. The Grand Magus Divine Palace Hall Master took out a jade box. Once the jade box was open, balls of light flew out and flew towards the first-rate heavenly soldiers. These balls of light were the spiritual imprints of the Grand Magus Temple's elites. Each ball of light contained an ancient secret skill. These balls of light were similar to the inheritances that the youths in West Raven City had received when they received their magic inheritances. They were all mental imprints. In the end, only Lu Ming was left. Everyone's gaze fell on Lu Ming. This time, Lu Ming had snatched the insights and imprints of the other archaic world's elites. His harvest should be good. Lu Ming waved his hand and took out the insights and imprints he had obtained. Of course, he didn't take out the stone wall that he had obtained from the main training ground. The stone wall was too big. If he took it out, he wouldn't be able to fit it here. Even so, the eyes of the Grand Sorcerer Temple Master and the others lit up. They were satisfied with this harvest. There were hundreds of insights and imprints of the ancient secret techniques. Not bad, not bad. Let's check. The Grand Sorcerer Temple Master said. Lu Ming took out a pile of them. They still had to check because many of them might be duplicates. Although repetition was also useful to them, their condition with Lu Ming was that the comprehension and imprint of one type of secret skill could be exchanged for one type of ancient secret skill. If they had a few comprehensions and imprints of the same secret skill, it would still be one type of secret skill. I think it's better to check and verify it later. At this moment, Lu Ming spoke. Wait! The Grand Sorcerer Temple Master and the others were surprised. That's right. I still have some insights and imprints left behind by the archaic Divine Court. However, they are too big to fit here. Why don't we check outside? Lu Ming said. Can't fit here? The Grand Sorcerer Temple Master and the others looked at each other. To be honest, the area of this hall was not small. It could even fit a small hill. What exactly did Lu Ming obtain that it could not fit here? However, the Grand Sorcerer Temple Master was only surprised for a moment. He said, Take them out and check. The group came out of the main hall. Outside the main hall was a spacious square. Everyone looked at Lu Ming curiously. They wanted to see what Lu Ming got that he needed to check outside. Lu Ming's expression was calm and unruffled. He waved his hands. Boom. The ground shook and a huge stone wall appeared in the square. This is, at the scene, when everyone saw this stone wall, they couldn't help but widen their eyes. There were many insights and imprints left behind by the strong cultivators of the archaic divine court on the wall. The Grand Sorcerer Temple Master and the other strong cultivators of the Great Sorcerer Temple were breathing heavily. Their eyes were wide open as they stared at the imprints on the wall. Those are the insights and imprints left behind by the strong cultivators of the archaic divine court, shouted a guardian of the Great Sorcerer Temple. He couldn't control his emotions. Oh my God, so many. There must be thousands of secret skills. Too many, really too many. We're rich. The other guardians of the Great Sorcerer Temple were also discussing. Those guardians were all cultivators of the third great supreme god layer. Normally, they didn't show their emotions on their faces. However, they couldn't control their emotions at that moment. Some of the guardians were even more excited when they saw the secret skills of the archaic divine court. They were all created by the secret skills of the archaic divine court, so their cultivation was different from other creatures. They could directly absorb the insights and imprints left behind by the strong cultivators of the archaic divine court. As long as they could absorb the insights and imprints, their cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. The other first-grade celestial soldiers and the great supreme god cultivators of the archaic world were also dumbfounded. Lu Ming's gains were beyond their imagination. Feng He, in particular, had a look of deep fear in his eyes. Lu Ming's gains were so great that they could imagine how strong he was. Without strength, how could he gain anything? Phew. The Grand Sorcerer Temple Master took a deep breath. He was pleasantly surprised. He said, "Little brother Mu Yun, you obtained the insights and imprints of the main training ground?" "That's right. I took all the insights and imprints from the main training ground. They're all on this stone wall," said Lu Ming. Chapter 4160. Haha, great, great. The Grand Magus Divine Temple Master laughed heartily. He was extremely excited and carefree. The other experts of the Grand Sorcerer God Temple were also overjoyed. Haha, with these insights and seals, the strength of the Grand Sorcerer God Temple will skyrocket. By then, it will not be difficult for us to destroy the ancient Sorcerer God Temple. That's right. By then, the entire Archean world will be ours. The experts of the Grand Sorcerer God Temple laughed heartily. They were looking forward to destroying the ancient Sorcerer God Temple and unifying the Archean world. Grand Sorcerer, let's begin the verification. Lu Ming spoke, interrupting their fantasies. Haha, brother Mu Yin, you must be joking. The main thing is that your gains are amazing. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master laughed awkwardly and sent someone to verify the gains. Soon, all the gains were verified. There were more than 1,300 types. Lu Ming had obtained more than 1,300 types of Archean secret skills and seals, which could be exchanged for more than 1,300 types of Archean secret skills. Lu Ming's heart was burning with excitement. How many merit points could he exchange for with so many Archean secret skills in the Heavenly Palace? Of course, not all of these Archean secret skills could be exchanged for merit points. After all, the Heavenly Palace had more than 1,000 types of Archean secret skills. As long as they overlapped, they could not be exchanged. However, it was impossible for all of them to overlap. Even half of them would be amazing. Besides, even if they could not be exchanged for merit points, Lu Ming could keep them for his own cultivation. The more Archean secret skills Lu Ming had, the better. Brother Mu Yun, you have too many Archean secret skills. The total number of Archean secret skills in the Grand Sorcerer God Temple does not exceed 1,300 types. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master stuttered for a long time and said embarrassedly, "You don't have 1,300 types?" Lu Ming frowned. That's right. The total number of Archean secret skills in the Grand Sorcerer God Temple is only about 800 types. In fact, the ancient Sorcerer God Temple is about the same as us. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master said. Lu Ming understood. The Great Sorcerer Shrine and the Ancient Sorcerer Shrine were mainly ruled by ancient secret skills. There were not many ancient secret skills on either side. Previously, the experts of the Ancient Sorcerer Shrine had said that the Ancient Sorcerer Shrine had a total of 800 ancient secret techniques. In fact, the same was true for the Great Sorcerer Temple. There were also dozens of spiritual imprints left behind by the fallen Ancient Sorcerer Temple. There were less than 900 spiritual imprints left behind by the fallen Ancient Sorcerer Temple. Lu Ming furrowed his brows, feeling somewhat displeased. Brother Mu Yun, we can exchange the remaining items with other items. Feel free to tell us what you need, the Grand Magus God Palace Master said. Then I'll exchange the rest of my secret arts for ordinary secret arts. What do you think about ordinary witchcraft arts? Lu Ming said. Of course. The Grand Magus Palace Master agreed. They had more living creatures created by ordinary secret techniques, so they could satisfy Lu Ming's requirements. Without hesitation, the Grand Magus God Palace paid Lu Ming more than 800 spiritual imprints of ancient secret arts and over 10,000 spiritual imprints of ordinary secret arts. Lu Ming accepted them with satisfaction. Lu Ming and the Grand Magus God Palace had gotten what they wanted. Everyone was happy. Everyone, we'll have a banquet tonight. Let's drink until we're drunk, the Grand Magus God Palace Master said. Thank you, Grand Magus. Everyone cupped their fists and left. On the other hand, Yi Yu and the others rushed back to the futon after their battle suits had recovered their energy. With so many powerful beings working together, they quickly made their way past the living beings on the prayer mats and returned to the Ancient Sorcerer Shrine. What? The Grand Magus God Palace obtained more than 1,000 spiritual imprints left behind by the elites of the archaic divine court? The Grand Magus God Palace Master and other elites were shocked when they heard the news. Some of them even yelled. No, the Grand Magus God Palace will be much more powerful with those spiritual imprints. By then, they will be able to suppress the Ancient Sorcerer Temple. If this goes on, we will be wiped out. We can't just sit here and wait. The protectors of the Grand Magus God Palace yelled. Grand Magus, what should we do now? Someone asked the Grand Magus God Palace Master. Kill our way to the Grand Magus God Palace. We can't drag this out any longer. The longer we wait, the worse it will be for us. The Grand Magus God Palace Master made up his mind. Although they had gained something this time, it was nothing compared to what the Grand Magus God Palace had gained. After absorbing the spiritual imprints, the Grand Magus God Palace would improve more than them. By then they would be in a passive position. Instead of sitting here and waiting, they might be able to defeat the Grand Magus God Palace and unify the archaic divine court. Pass down my order. Gather all the elites of the Ancient Sorcerer Temple and attack the Grand Magus God Palace. Make no mistake, the Grand Magus God Palace Master ordered. Yes, the elites of the Ancient Sorcerer Temple immediately scattered to gather the elites of the Ancient Sorcerer Temple. Young Master Yi Yu, I'll give you your rewards now. The Grand Magus God Palace Master took out some spiritual imprints of the archaic secret skills and handed them to Yi Yu and the others. Young Master Yi Yu, what are your plans? The Grand Magus God Palace Master asked. I want to go with you, said Yi Yu. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He would never let Lu Ming off. He wanted to follow the people from the Ancient Sorcerer Divine Temple to the Great Sorcerer Divine Temple, so that he could find a chance to kill Lu Ming. He wanted Lu Ming to die tragically. Otherwise, he would never be able to quench his anger. That's great, said the Grand Magus God Palace Master happily. He knew that even though Yi Yu and the others' cultivation levels were not high, they were all peerless geniuses with terrifying fighting strength. The most important thing was that they had all kinds of treasures. Once they used them, their fighting strength would be even more astonishing. Even though they were not as strong as cultivators of the third great supreme god layer, they were still an extraordinary force. They could play a decisive role in the battle against the Grand Magus God Palace. The Ancient Sorcerer Temple was very efficient. After a short time, almost all the troops had gathered. No matter if they were in seclusion or what they were doing, they all moved out. 800 archaic secret skills, tens of thousands of ordinary secret skills, and other strong cultivators of the archaic world. As long as they were under the Ancient Sorcerer Temple's control, they all gathered and attacked the Grand Magus God Palace. At that moment, the Grand Magus God Palace was still celebrating. That night, the Grand Magus God Palace held a grand banquet. Lu Ming and the others all attended. After the banquet, Lu Ming and the others returned to their residences. After returning to his residence, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged, and a ball of light appeared in his hand. It was a spiritual imprint of an archaic secret skill. Lu Ming held the ball of light in his hand and inserted his consciousness into it. Immediately, a message appeared in Lu Ming's mind. This piece of information was the cultivation method of an ancient secret technique. Chapter 4161. Lu Ming sensed it carefully, memorizing the primordial mystic skill in his mind from this mental imprint. After a while, the spiritual imprint in his hand exploded like a firework. Lu Ming's expression was calm. This was within his expectations. He had already memorized the ancient secret skill contained in the mental imprint. Lu Ming took out another spiritual imprint and started to study it. Memorizing it in his mind was the safest way. He could exchange it with the Heavenly Palace and make a copy. Lu Ming memorized all the ancient secret skills in his mind. He could memorize several of them in an hour. He could memorize 60 to 70 of them in a day. A few days later, Lu Ming had memorized a few hundred of them. Dong. Dong. On this day, Lu Ming was memorizing the primordial secret skill when he suddenly heard a violent roar. Lu Ming knew right away that this was the sound of the war drums. The war drums are beating. Is it the ancient sorcerer temple? Lu Ming's heart stirred. He had expected the ancient sorcerer temple to attack. After all, he had obtained too many insights and imprints left behind by the strong cultivators of the ancient divine court. This would break the balance between the great sorcerer temple and the ancient sorcerer temple. He believed that the ancient sorcerer temple would not sit still and do nothing. In fact, the grand sorcerer temple had also expected this. They had gathered all the elites in the grand sorcerer temple and were ready for battle. However, the grand sorcerer temple would not attack first. The longer the battle dragged on, the better it would be for them. They would not attack first. However, since the ancient sorcerer temple was here, they could only fight. Let's go out and take a look. Since the ancient sorcerer temple was here, Lu Ming was not in the mood to continue cultivating. He left his residence and soared into the sky. He saw a large number of elites gathering in the sky and rushing out of the grand sorcerer temple. They were all elites from the grand sorcerer temple. The energy was howling and the sky was boiling. There were too many elites from the Grand Sorcerer Temple. There were more than 1,000 God Emperor realm experts. The experts formed by the ancient secret technique were almost all Emperor gods. There were about 800 of them. The rest were other living beings who had reached the Emperor God realm. In addition, a large number of godly emperors rushed to the outside of the Great Sorcerer God Temple and set up a great formation. Lu Ming also flew out and realized that there were already tens of thousands of people gathered outside the Grand Sorcerer God Shrine. At the forefront were the Great Sorcerer Divine Palace's Emperor God realm experts. Over 1,000 Emperor gods gathered together, and their aura was terrifying, causing the void to tremble. There was not a single sound at the scene. Everyone was adjusting their state of mind, adjusting themselves to their best state, waiting for the great battle. Rumble. Suddenly, a dull roar came from the front. Here it comes. Everyone's heart trembled. The rumbling sounds ahead grew louder and louder. Then a terrifying force surged in this direction. That energy was like a tsunami, capable of toppling mountains and overturning seas. It was as if it could shatter everything. Following that, large groups of figures appeared. They were from the ancient sorcerer temple. The ancient sorcerer temple also gathered tens of thousands of experts and rushed over. Boom! The experts from the Great Sorcerer Temple also unleashed their auras. Their auras were like mountains and seas as they rushed forward and collided with the energy from the ancient Sorcerer Temple. There was an earth-shattering explosion and the void was blasted into chaos. A terrifying force swept out in all directions, tearing cracks in the space, like a spider web that covered the entire void. Kill. Today we will destroy the Great Sorcerer Temple. The ancient Sorcerer Temple's army let out a deafening roar. Then the ancient Sorcerer Temple's army rushed over. Kill. Today the ancient sorcerer temple will be destroyed. We, the great sorcerer temple, are the true rulers. The grand sorcerer temple master also let out a long roar. Kill! Kill, kill, kill! The experts from the great sorcerer temple roared. Their bodies turned into dazzling rays of light and rushed toward the ancient sorcerer temple. The experts from both sides clashed in the air. Soldiers against soldiers, generals against generals. Emperor gods against emperor gods, emperor gods against emperor gods. The two sides engaged in a fierce battle. The emperor gods fought fiercely in the air, while the emperor gods fought on the lower level. The sky was suddenly filled with dazzling rays of light. How exciting! Lu Ming's eyes were like two stars as he watched the battle. It was the first time that Lu Ming had seen such a battle. This was because it was a battle of secret skills. All kinds of ancient secret skills turned into their true forms. All kinds of ordinary secret skills turned into their true forms and fought fiercely in the air. Lu Ming did not attack. The first-class heavenly soldiers did not attack either. They just stood behind and watched. Heavenly human tribe. Then Lu Ming saw Yiyu and the others from the ancient sorcerer temple. Yiyu and the others did not attack either. They stood behind and stared coldly at Lu Ming. The murderous intent in their eyes was obvious and undisguised. The battle became more and more intense and people started to die. The corpses of the living beings from the Archean world fell to the ground after they were killed. After those secret skills were killed, they turned into secret skill runes and floated in the air. In the sky, the secret skill runes shone with all kinds of luster. They were like sparkling stars, attracting Lu Ming's attention. Lu Ming's eyes were burning. These were ordinary secret skill runes. Lu Ming could directly integrate them into his cells and reach the greater mastery level. This was very attractive to Lu Ming. Swoosh! Lu Ming rushed out and performed the greater divine wind technique to the extreme. His body was like a phantom that kept flashing. Every time he flashed, Lu Ming grabbed a secret skill rune in his hand. After flashing more than 10 times, Lu Ming obtained more than 10 secret skill runes. They were all ordinary secret skill runes. With a thought, these secret skill runes were integrated into Lu Ming's cells. They were completely under Lu Ming's control and had reached the greater mastery level. This made Lu Ming even more excited. Lu Ming continued to flash and grab the secret skill runes. Little boy, you want to die? Die? A few cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer from the ancient sorcerer shrine stared at Lu Ming and attacked him. You're the ones who want to die, shouted Lu Ming coldly. He threw a punch and those cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer were destroyed. They turned into secret skill runes and Lu Ming put them away. Killing them is even more satisfying. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. He used his spiritual awareness to detect the cultivators of the ancient sorcerer shrine. He waved his hand and released a terrifying chi. None of the godly emperors could withstand one attack from Lu Ming. All the cultivators of the ancient sorcerer shrine exploded and turned into secret skill runes. After a short while, Lu Ming obtained 50 secret skill runes. Chapter 4162. Lu Ming fused more than 50 talismans into his cells. He could feel that the forbidden energy had become even stronger. Each of his cells had been fused with the forbidden energy. Therefore, when the talismans fused with his cells, they fused with the forbidden energy in his cells and made his forbidden energy become even stronger. The more cells fused with the forbidden energy, the stronger the forbidden energy became. Of course, it wasn't an increase in quantity, it was a change in quality. Lu Ming was about to continue hunting for the ordinary secret skills of the ancient sorcerer shrine, when he suddenly sensed a terrifying strength above his head. It was a destructive strength. It was extremely violent and was moving towards Lu Ming. It seemed like it could destroy everything in its path. The Great Destruction Spell. Lu Ming didn't need to look, he could sense that it was one of the ancient secret skills, the Great Destruction Spell. That person had the strength of the 3rd Great Supreme God Layer. He had been fighting against the Great Supreme God Layer of the Great Supreme God Layer. He had probably seen Lu Ming and wanted to kill Lu Ming. His murderous intent toward Lu Ming was extremely intense, second only to Yiyu. Without the slightest hesitation, Lu Ming took out the Bingxian cudgel. The taboo power surged into the Bingxian cudgel crazily. and he smashed it upward. Boom, boom, boom. The dark ice staff and the destructive energy kept colliding, creating earth-shattering explosions. However, Lu Ming's combat power was still inferior to the other parties. The Bingxian rod vibrated violently, and a powerful force rushed into his body along with the Bingxian rod. His body shook violently as if he had been hit by a huge mountain. His body fell to the ground. A few strong cultivators of the Great Sorcerer Shrine and the Ancient Sorcerer Shrine were hit by Lu Ming and exploded. Let's see where you can run today. Die. The Great Art of Destruction bellowed. His body was no longer in human form. Instead, it transformed into a ball of energy. A ball of destructive energy charged toward Lu Ming. It was like a meteorite smashing toward Lu Ming. It was extremely powerful. The surrounding people, regardless of whether they were from the Grand Magus Temple or the Ancient Sorcerer Temple, were all terrified. They quickly retreated, afraid that they would be dragged into the battle. Before the attack arrived, Lu Ming felt a strong pressure. Wang. Lu Ming's body trembled. The first-grade celestial soldier armor was activated, and a light barrier enveloped him. However, just as Lu Ming was about to activate his Tier 1 Heavenly Soldier battle armor, a ray of divine light suddenly shot towards Lu Ming from his left. Fast, it was extremely fast. Lu Ming couldn't dodge in time, and was directly hit by the divine light. His body shook violently, and the first-grade celestial soldier armor also shook violently, its energy dimming. One attack had consumed all the energy of the first-level celestial soldier's armor. He was a cultivator of the third great supreme god layer. As for the divine light, it flew back a certain distance before stopping. Only then did Lu Ming clearly see the appearance of the person who attacked him. It was a beam of divine light. This was the person's true form. Could it be one of the 3,000 ancient secret skills, the Great Aurora Technique? Lu Ming's heart stirred. The Great Aurora Technique was one of the top 3,000 ancient secret skills. It was as famous as the Great Destruction Technique and the Great Teleportation Technique. They were all in the top 100. Obviously, the Great Aurora Technique had also reached the third great supreme god layer. It had destroyed the first-grade celestial soldier's armor in one attack. The Great Art of Destruction seized the opportunity and continued to attack Lu Ming. "Destruction, I'm your opponent," shouted someone furiously. It was a cultivator of the third great supreme god layer from the Great Sorcerer Shrine. He ran towards the Great Destruction spell, trying to stop it. However, a silver spear pierced through the air towards the cultivator of the Great Sorcerer Temple. It had the strength of the third great supreme god layer. The cultivator of the Great Sorcerer Temple didn't dare be careless. He had no choice but to stop and block the silver spear. "You should stay here," said a tall and slender silhouette. His golden hair was fluttering in the wind. His chi was incredible. "If it wasn't you, who else could it be? You're an outsider's genius. Let me fight you," shouted the cultivator of the Great Sorcerer Temple as he charged towards Yu. However, Yu's silhouette flickered and he dodged the attack. However, when the cultivator attacked the Great Destruction Technique, Yu would stop him. Boom. At that moment, Lu Ming had already used the second attack of the Great Destruction Technique. This time, Lu Ming was still pushed back and coughed up blood. Without the defense of the first-grade Heavenly Soldier armor, Lu Ming could not completely block the attack of the Great Art of Destruction with the Bingxian rod alone. There would still be residual power bombarding his body. Even if he cast the Great Defense skill, he would not be able to block it and would be injured. Die. Seeing that Lu Ming was injured, the cultivator of the Great Destruction Technique became even more excited. He looked even more ferocious as he charged towards Lu Ming. "I can only dodge for now. Unfortunately, it seems like I won't be able to get more talismans." Lu Ming sighed in his heart and planned to use the Great Shift Technique to dodge. It was a pity that he would lose so many talismans. However, if he stayed, he might really be killed by the Great Destruction Technique. Moreover, there was the Great Aurora Technique beside him. Whoosh! Lu Ming used the Great Shift Technique and disappeared from where he was. However, the moment Lu Ming disappeared from the spot, the Great Aurora skill was unleashed. His form was a beam of light. Like a divine saber, it flashed and disappeared. Then it slashed at a spot in the void. At that moment, Lu Ming, who was using the Great Shift technique, felt a sense of danger. He activated the Bingxian staff with all his might and attacked in the direction of the danger. Clang! A beam of divine light struck the Bingxian staff. Lu Ming's body was sent flying out of the dark void and reappeared in front of everyone. The Great Aurora technique is so powerful that it can penetrate the dark void and attack me. Lu Ming was shocked. The Great Aurora technique directly interrupted the Great Shift technique. It seemed that no ancient secret technique was invincible and could be restrained. When Lu Ming reappeared, the attack of the Great Destruction technique had already arrived. The violent and terrifying power of destruction rushed toward Lu Ming. This is troublesome. Lu Ming felt his heartbeat quicken. At that moment, he had just used up his old strength and had yet to generate new strength. Even if he wanted to use the Bingxian staff to resist, he was powerless. The attack of the Great Destruction technique was about to land on him. At that moment, Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Because he felt that the archaic celestial stone in his sea of consciousness was vibrating on its own. Then an invisible wave was emitted from his sea of consciousness. From the outside, people could only see that a black light was emitting from Lu Ming's glabella. It spread out like a wave. When this wave enveloped the Great Destruction technique, the terrifying power emitted by the Great Destruction technique dissipated at an astonishing speed. The aura of the Great Destruction technique also declined rapidly. What's going on? What's going on? The Great Destruction technique cried out in horror. Chapter 4163. The Great Art of Destruction screamed in horror, as he felt an unprecedented weakness. This kind of weakness made him incomparably terrified. Lu Ming also noticed the abnormality. He felt that the Great Art of Destruction was extremely weak, even weaker than a first-layer Divine Emperor. It was as if he had become a Divine Emperor. Lu Ming would not miss such an opportunity. He waved the mysterious ice staff and attacked. Although the staff did not unleash its strongest power, it was still very shocking. The huge mysterious ice staff pressed down, causing the Great Art of Destruction to scream in horror. Ah, how is this possible? My strength! Where is my strength? The Great Art of Destruction screamed in horror. He used all his strength, but he felt that his strength was extremely weak. It was many times weaker than before. He could not block Lu Ming's attack. His strength could not withstand a single blow from the mysterious ice staff, and he was forced to retreat. With a loud bang, the mysterious ice staff landed on the Great Art of Destruction, causing a huge explosion. The mysterious ice staff was directly destroyed, leaving a secret skill rune floating in the air. The secret skill rune shone brightly, trying to escape. However, Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the secret skill rune formed by the Great Art of Destruction. Let go of me, let go of me. The voice of the Great Art of Destruction came from the secret skill rune, but the voice was filled with horror. Lu Ming could not be bothered with him and kept it in his storage ring. This is, not far away, the Great Art of Extreme Light saw this scene and was completely stunned. He had no idea what was going on. Why did the Great Art of Destruction suddenly become so weak? Where did his strength go? Why was he killed by Lu Ming in one move? What was going on? At this moment, Lu Ming had his eyes on him. Let's give it a try. Lu Ming's eyes shone with intense excitement and anticipation. He controlled a strand of forbidden energy and inserted it into the primordial spiritual stone in his sea of consciousness. Buzz. The primordial spiritual stone trembled slightly, and a wave of ripples spread out. Swish. Lu Ming used the Great God Wind technique and continued to rush towards the Great Art of Extreme Light. You're courting death. Seeing Lu Ming take the initiative to attack, Aurora's eyes flashed with intense killing intent. He was about to attack Lu Ming. But at this moment, the primordial God Stone emitted a wave of energy that enveloped the ultimate Aurora technique. Instantly, the ultimate Aurora technique felt his strength draining away rapidly, and his aura weakened rapidly. How did this happen? What's going on? The great Aurora technique's heart shook violently. He was almost scared to death. He wanted to retreat, but his strength was too weak at the moment. Even his speed was much slower. He couldn't avoid Lu Ming's attack at all. Bang! The mysterious ice staff pressed down, and the greater Aurora technique directly collapsed, turning into a secret technique rune. Lu Ming had only activated a trace of the mysterious ice rod's power, and had not used his full strength. In fact, Lu Ming felt that there was no need to use the ice sky staff at all. After all, the fluctuations of the primeval godstone had weakened his opponent to the point of being like a god emperor. Lu Ming could easily kill a divine emperor with a single strike. With a wave of his hand, he put away the secret technique rune formed by the ultimate aurora technique. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with excitement. The great art of destruction and ultimate aurora technique were both ranked in the top 100 among the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. They were extremely mysterious and powerful. With the secret technique rune, as long as it was integrated into one's cells, one would be able to reach the beginner level and master these ancient secret techniques. So, the primeval godstone can suppress these ancient secret techniques. No wonder the people from the Sorcerer God Temple couldn't enter the great ancient dojo. Perhaps it has something to do with the primeval godstone. Lu Ming's mind raced as he roughly guessed the reason behind this. However, no one else knew that Lu Ming had the primeval godstone. Everyone who saw Lu Ming killing the great art of destruction and ultimate aurora technique consecutively was stunned. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. How is this possible? How can this guy be so powerful? Yi was also filled with doubts. He knew very well how powerful the great art of destruction and ultimate aurora technique were. Even if he used all his strength, he wouldn't be able to kill the great art of destruction and ultimate aurora technique. At most, he would be able to tie with them. However, Lu Ming could easily kill the great art of destruction and ultimate aurora technique. Didn't that mean that Lu Ming could easily kill him too? At the thought of this, he felt a chill in his heart and broke out in cold sweat. He couldn't help but retreat quickly to distance himself from Lu Ming. He was afraid that Lu Ming would attack him. At this moment, Lu Ming was overjoyed. His eyes were as bright as stars as he glanced at the other secret techniques. Then he used the great teleportation technique and appeared among the group of ordinary secret techniques in a flash. The primeval godstone between his eyebrows emitted waves of energy and shrouded the ordinary secret techniques. Immediately, the aura of these ordinary secret techniques weakened rapidly. They were only at the divine emperor realm. Now they were even more vulnerable. Lu Ming's palm was like a knife as he slashed out violently. Of course, he was targeting the secret techniques of the ancient Sorcerer God Temple, and not the great Sorcerer God Temple. Bang bang bang. These ordinary secret techniques were no match for Lu Ming. Their bodies kept exploding and turning into talismans. Lu Ming waved his hand and collected them all. At this moment, Lu Ming had attracted everyone's attention, including those who were fighting in the sky, such as the ancient Sorcerer God Temple's leader. "I'll kill him," shouted a white-haired old man coldly. He took a step forward and dashed towards Lu Ming. His speed was astonishing and his aura was terrifying. Wherever he passed, the empty space became chaotic. How strong! He has the strength of the fourth great supreme god layer. Lu Ming was taken aback. There was a grave expression in his eyes. That was definitely a cultivator of the fourth great supreme god layer. His aura was terrifying. He was much stronger than a cultivator of the third great supreme god layer. Lu Ming wasn't sure if he could defeat him. Even though the primeval godstone could suppress cultivators of the third great supreme god layer, could it suppress cultivators of the fourth great supreme god layer? The old man was too fast. He was already 100 li away from Lu Ming. A terrifying attack was already moving towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming couldn't dodge the attack of a cultivator of the fourth great supreme god layer. Even if he used the great teleportation technique, it would be useless. Now he could only risk it. Lu Ming's eyes twinkled. He didn't retreat. Instead, he dashed towards the old man. The cultivator of the fourth great supreme god layer was stupefied. He looked worried and worried. But at that moment, there was no way out. Boom. The cultivator of the fourth great supreme god layer released his strongest attack. That attack was terrifying. Ordinary cultivators of the third great supreme god layer would have been crushed into pieces in front of that attack. At that moment, the primeval godstone released some chi. When the chi passed by the primeval godstone, it was like a snowflake touching a flame. It melted and disappeared. At the same time, the cultivator of the fourth great supreme god layer was also surrounded by the primeval godstone's qi. Chapter 4164. That cultivator of the fourth great supreme god layer was also surrounded by the ancient godly stone. His qi started to weaken rapidly. Almost in an instant, he was suppressed to below the emperor god realm, and was only left with the cultivation of the divine emperor realm. Oh no! The cultivator of the fourth great supreme god layer was terrified. A cold qi rose from his feet to the top of his head, and he started to retreat. But how could Lu Ming let him retreat? As soon as Lu Ming saw that the cultivator was suppressed, he immediately attacked. This time, Lu Ming didn't use the mysterious ice rod because he didn't need it. A godly emperor layer cultivator needed the mysterious ice rod? He immediately threw a punch. The cultivator of the fourth great supreme god layer gave a horrible shriek as his body exploded and turned into a talisman floating in the air. Following that, Zhang Xian grabbed the secret art talisman and put it away. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. This time, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. His heart was in turmoil, and he found it hard to calm down. That cultivator of the fourth great supreme god layer had been killed just like that? There weren't many cultivators of the fourth great supreme god layer in the entire ancient world. For example, the ancient sorcerer shrine only had 8 cultivators of the fourth great supreme god layer. There was also a cultivator of the fifth great supreme god layer, the shrine master of the ancient sorcerer shrine. He was second only to one person, and above 10,000 people. Surprisingly, Lu Ming had killed such a cultivator with one punch. Why? What does he have that can suppress us? Terrified voices rang out one after another. They were filled with doubt. However, nobody thought of the ancient godly stone. In fact, those ancient secret techniques didn't know about the ancient godly stone. They all thought that the cultivators of the ancient divine court had comprehended the ancient secret techniques, and that they had gained sentience after a long time. They didn't know that they were the masters of the ancient divine court, and that they had comprehended the ancient secret techniques from the ancient godly stone. Lu Ming didn't care about them. His silhouette flickered and he rushed towards the crowd. Wherever he passed, the auras of the secret techniques rapidly weakened. However, Lu Ming discovered a strange thing. The living beings with flesh and blood in the ancient world would not be affected at all. Their auras were still as powerful as before. As expected, the ancient godly stone only worked on secret techniques, no matter if they were ordinary or ancient secret techniques. Because the ancient divine court's secret techniques originated from the ancient godly stone. The master of the ancient divine court had comprehended the 3,000 ancient secret techniques from the ancient godly stone. Then the 3,000 ancient secret techniques had evolved into ordinary secret techniques. After these secret techniques took form, they were naturally countered by the primeval god stone. The others had also noticed this. And kill him. The voice of the ancient sorcerer temple's hall master reverberated throughout the place. Die. In the territory ruled by the ancient sorcerer divine temple, the living beings of flesh and blood in the ancient world roared and charged toward Lu Ming. Most of those people had the strength of the first great supreme god layer. A few of them had the strength of the second. Level 3 divine court god layer level god realm. The godly god realm god realm. That great god ice rod layer god head. Bang. A cultivator of the second great supreme god layer was blown to pieces by Lu Ming. Then the mysterious ice rod pressed down like Mount Tai. 7 or 8 cultivators of the first great supreme god layer were crushed to death. So strong. He's already so strong. How can we fight him? Retreat. The flesh and blood creatures were scared out of their wits. They no longer dared to attack Lu Ming and frantically retreated. They were not Lu Ming's match at all. How could they rush up to court death? Haha, great. These ancient secret skills are all mine. Lu Ming laughed in his heart as he looked at the ancient mystic skills in the sky. Using the greater teleportation technique, he appeared in the middle of a bunch of ancient secret techniques. Kill. As soon as the ancient sorcerer temple's ancient secret techniques saw Lu Ming, they roared and charged at Lu Ming, preparing to launch all sorts of attacks. Unfortunately, before they could launch their attacks, the ancient godstone in Lu Ming's mind had already released waves of energy that enveloped them. Then, the auras of the ancient secret techniques around Lu Ming rapidly weakened. Whether it was the great sorcerer temples or the ancient sorcerer temple's secret techniques, they were all suppressed to the great supreme god level. This made all the ancient secret techniques terrified. What's going on? I'm being suppressed. What's going on? Run! Many people shouted. The ancient secret skills of the great sorcerer divine temple were slightly better. They knew that Lu Ming was on their side. However, the ancient secret skills of the ancient sorcerer divine temple were horrified. They wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Lu Ming had already launched his attack. Boom boom boom. Lu Ming's body was covered in a layer of dazzling white light as he continuously punched out with his fists. His fists pierced through the void and headed towards the ancient sorcerer temple's ancient secret techniques. Each of his fists was like a shooting star that pierced through the void. It was extremely powerful. The ancient secret skills of the ancient sorcerer divine temple were suppressed below the level of a god emperor. They could not withstand Lu Ming's attack at all. As the fist force blasted past them, their bodies directly exploded, leaving only a secret skill rune behind. After Lu Ming's attack, there were more than 20 secret technique runes in the air. They shone with various lights and screams of terror could be heard from the secret technique runes. These were the spiritual intelligence of the secret technique runes. Lu Ming reached out his hand, and a powerful suction force burst out from his palm. He grabbed the secret technique runes in his hand. However, Lu Ming didn't put the secret technique runes away this time. Instead, he held them in his hand and started to inject forbidden energy into them to destroy the spiritual intelligence of the ancient secret technique runes. Lu Ming was preparing for a rainy day. Although the ancient divine stone could suppress the ancient secret techniques and ordinary secret techniques, it was useless against ordinary beings. He couldn't suppress the core disciples of the heavenly human tribe and the heavenly palace. If Yu attacked him, he wouldn't be able to defeat him. Therefore, he had to become stronger as quickly as possible. If he could break through to the 9th godly emperor layer, he wouldn't need to fear Yu anymore. Even though Lu Ming was refining the spiritual intelligence of the secret technique runes, he didn't stop moving. His silhouette flickered and he reappeared in another place. A group of ancient secret techniques was surrounded by the ancient divine stone's waves of energy. After another wave of attacks, dozens of ancient secret techniques were killed. They were panicking. The strong cultivators of the ancient sorcerer temple were panicking. The ancient sorcerer temple only had 800 secret techniques in total. Now 40 or 50 of them had been destroyed. How could they accept that? The other ancient secret techniques were panicking. Master, what should we do? What should we do? Someone with ancient secret techniques asked the ancient sorcerer temple master. Nobody dared attack Lu Ming anymore. Even cultivators of the 4th great supreme god layer had been killed instantly. Who would dare attack him? Even though the ancient sorcerer temple's master had the strength of the 5th great supreme god layer, he didn't dare take the risk. Chapter 4165. Damn it! Damn it! The ancient sorcerer shrine's shrine master roared furiously. His heart was filled with killing intent. He really wanted to rush forward and slap Lu Ming to death. However, he did not dare to do so. Lu Ming had killed a cultivator of the 4th great supreme god layer in an instant. Even though he could easily kill a cultivator of the 4th great supreme god layer, he wasn't confident. He didn't know Lu Ming's limit, and he didn't know what kind of treasure Lu Ming had that could suppress them. Retreat! Retreat! The ancient sorcerer shrine's shrine master said unwillingly. Even though he wasn't willing, he had to retreat. He didn't want to retreat, but he had no choice. Retreating would give the great sorcerer shrine time to absorb the knowledge and imprints left by the strong cultivators of the ancient divine court. It would only be a matter of time before they surpassed the ancient sorcerer shrine. However, if they stayed, they would probably be killed by Lu Ming. If Lu Ming killed them, they would die immediately. Given one of the two choices, he could only choose to retreat. While they were discussing, Lu Ming killed another group of ancient sorcerer shrine's secret skills, and obtained a few dozen talismans. The ancient sorcerer shrine's secret skills didn't dare get close to Lu Ming. They fled in all directions. Don't even think about leaving. Lu Ming chased after the ancient sorcerer shrine's experts, killing them as he did so. When the ancient sorcerer shrine's experts were enveloped by the ancient divine stone's energy, they were suppressed and their strength weakened rapidly. Lu Ming could easily kill them. Kill them. Let's attack together. Don't let them escape, shouted the great sorcerer shrine's shrine master. At that moment, he was so excited that his body was trembling. This time, it was really too unexpected. He had never dreamed that Lu Ming would be able to do something like this. At the same time, he was terrified. If Lu Ming could easily kill the ancient sorcerer shrine's secret skills, he could definitely do the same to the great sorcerer shrine's secret skills. He rejoiced, extremely rejoiced that Lu Ming was on their side. Otherwise, he didn't dare to think further. Now he just needed to seize the opportunity and kill as many people as he could from the ancient sorcerer temple. Kill. The warriors of the Grand Sorcerer Temple were in high spirits as they roared and charged towards the warriors of the Ancient Sorcerer Temple. The Ancient Sorcerer Shrine was completely one-sided. Damn it! In the distance, Yi Yu roared in his heart, his eyes flashing with killing intent. This brat seems to be in possession of some kind of treasure that can suppress the secret techniques of the Archean world. However, it seems to have no effect on the ordinary creatures of the Archean world. In that case, it should also have no effect on us. Yi Yu thought quickly. He was a peerless genius and abnormally intelligent. Although he wasn't very calm right now, he could still see where the problem was. However, he was still a little hesitant to rush up and fight Lu Ming. What if Lu Ming could also suppress him? Wouldn't that be a dead end for him? However, he was unwilling to just watch Lu Ming kill the warriors of the Ancient Sorcerer Temple and obtain their secret technique runes. He didn't know that Lu Ming could directly integrate the secret technique runes into his cells, but he knew that every secret technique rune represented a secret technique of the Archean world. The more Lu Ming obtained, the more unhappy he was. He had to stop him. Turning his gaze, Yi Yu already had an idea. You guys go and test Mu Yun's strength. Yi Yu looked at the core disciples of the big shots of the Heavenly Palace. Let's go. The core disciples of the Heavenly Palace's core disciples changed their expressions and became a little ugly. They were not fools. Naturally, they knew what Yi Yu was thinking. She wanted them to test the waters and see if Lu Ming could suppress them. If Lu Ming could suppress them, then Yi Yu didn't need to go up and just ran away. If Lu Ming couldn't suppress them, then Yi Yu would have to take action. This was pushing the danger to them, so he naturally didn't want to. What? Do I have to say it again? Yi Yu's voice was cold, and his cold eyes swept across the core disciples of the Heavenly Palace. This made the core disciples of the Heavenly Palace's core disciples even more uncomfortable. Although they were core disciples of the Heavenly Palace's core disciples, when they walked out of the Heavenly Palace and faced the universe's tribes, they were absolutely superior. Many of the tribe leaders had to be respectful to them. However, they weren't from the Heavenly Human tribe, and their status was still very far from the real Heavenly Human tribe. Not to mention compared to Yi Yu, who was a top genius even in the Heavenly Human tribe. If Yi Yu was unhappy with them and used some tricks behind their backs, they would be unable to move an inch in the Heavenly Palace and lose their great future. Since Master Yi Yu has given us the order, how could we not obey? Said one of the young men with a smile. His battle armor shone and a layer of light enveloped him. He immediately took out a great weapon and rushed towards Lu Ming. I'll attack too. Me too. Seeing that someone was going to attack, the other core disciples of the Heavenly Palace also stepped forward. They activated their battle armor and rushed towards Lu Ming with all kinds of great weapons in their hands. Their speed was very fast. Like streams of flowing light, they cut through the void and approached Lu Ming rapidly. They hadn't arrived yet, but many powerful attacks were already heading towards Lu Ming. These people were very strong, and some of them were even as talented as the battle god Yuan one. They could cross 5 levels to fight. Even cultivators of the second great supreme god layer couldn't defeat them when they used their great weapons. So many people were attacking, and their attacks were very powerful, so Lu Ming had to be careful. He took out the Zephyr bead and used all his strength to draw out the energy inside. A powerful gust of wind rushed out and turned into a gust of wind barrier, blocking in front of him. Boom boom boom. One attack after another bombarded the gale barrier. The gale barrier shook violently and finally exploded with a loud bang. Lu Ming used the Zephyr Bead to block those people's attacks while he continued killing the ancient sorcerer shrine's secret skills. In such a short time, he had already killed more than 100 ancient sorcerer shrine's secret skills. On top of that, he had already destroyed more than 20 talismans. Fuse. Lu Ming's mind stirred, and more than 20 secret skill runes were integrated into more than 20 different cells by Lu Ming. In a flash, Lu Ming sensed that he had already mastered more than 20 ancient sorcerer shrine's secret skills, even though he was just a beginner. But he could already use some of the mysteries of the ancient sorcerer shrine's secret skills. At the same time, pure energy kept flowing out of the 20 ancient sorcerer shrine's cells and into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming sensed that his cultivation level was rapidly increasing. He was getting closer to the 9th godly emperor layer. Surround him. Die. The core disciples of the Heavenly Palace formed an arc and charged toward Lu Ming. They continued to attack Lu Ming with all kinds of attacks, blocking Lu Ming's path to continue hunting for the primordial mystic skills. Chapter 4166. Don't think that I'm afraid of you. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with anger. He turned around and rushed towards the core disciples of the Heavenly Palace. As he rushed out, the mysterious ice staff in his hand rapidly enlarged and swept out. Wang, wang, wang. The mysterious ice staff vibrated and turned into dozens of staff shadows, attacking the dozens of core disciples of the Heavenly Palace. A violent explosion sounded. Lu Ming's attack collided with the attacks of the core disciples of the Heavenly Palace. Although the core disciples of the Heavenly Palace were strong, they were still no match for Lu Ming. Their attacks were directly defeated. The staff shadows bombarded their bodies, and the dozens of core disciples of the Heavenly Palace were blown away like sandbags. If it weren't for their battle suits, they would have been seriously injured if not killed. After sending the dozens of core disciples of the Heavenly Palace flying, Lu Ming didn't stop attacking. The mysterious ice staff continued to sweep out. Dozens of staff shadows appeared and attacked the core disciples of the Heavenly Palace. None of the core disciples of the Heavenly Palace could compete with Lu Ming. Even the strongest of them was no match for Lu Ming. They were blown away one after another. In the distance, Yu saw this scene and was happy instead of shocked. As expected, Lu Ming could only suppress the secret skills of the archaic world. He couldn't suppress the living beings of flesh and blood, nor could he suppress them. That made things easier. He wouldn't be suppressed. His combat strength was stronger than Lu Ming's, so he could easily take care of Lu Ming. Mu Yin, today, I'll kill you. Yu roared and rushed towards Lu Ming with the silver spear in his hand. The silver spear was like a silver lightning, piercing through the void. In an instant it was close to Lu Ming. The silver spear let out a terrifying whistling sound, and aimed at Lu Ming's forehead. Its power was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming's face turned serious, and he attacked with the mysterious ice staff. Clang! When the mysterious ice rod and the silver spear collided, a violent shockwave erupted. Immediately after, the mysterious ice rod violently vibrated. Lu Ming's body violently shook, and he was sent flying by the violent power of the silver spear. Brat, let's see how arrogant you can be. Kill. Seeing that he had sent Lu Ming flying with just one move, Yu's courage was boosted. His killing intent exploded. The powerful and mysterious energy in his body continuously poured into the silver spear, causing the silver spear to emit a dazzling light, like a silver sun. Then, this silver sun turned into a sharp edge and pierced towards Lu Ming. In the blink of an eye, they had traversed several hundred miles of space. This attack was even stronger than the previous one. Clearly, the silver spear in Yu's hand was no small matter. It was most likely of a very high grade. Although these top prodigies would usually have a powerful killing weapon as their trump card, they would not be able to use it. However, there were also differences in strength between these weapons. The silver spear in Yu's hand was one of the best weapons of mass destruction. Even if it was not as good as the mysterious ice rod, it was not far off. I am still not a match for Yu. I can only avoid him for the time being. Lu Ming made his decision. His first-class celestial soldier armor had been drained of energy by the Great Destruction art and Great Aurora art. Without the first-class celestial soldier armor, Lu Ming's own defense could not be guaranteed. Moreover, after continuously activating the mysterious ice rod, Lu Ming had consumed a lot of energy. If they continued to fight with Yi Yu, it would be very disadvantageous for them. Greater Shift Art. Lu Ming immediately used the Greater Shift Art, and his body disappeared from the spot. The next moment, he appeared thousands of miles away, in the middle of a pile of ancient secret skills. In his sea of consciousness, the primordial god stone emitted waves of energy, and the aura of these ancient secret skills rapidly weakened. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Ming continuously punched and killed these ancient secret skills. Lu Ming obtained more than a dozen secret skill runes. Damn it! Yi Yu shouted. His body was shrouded in a layer of golden light. In a flash, he appeared not far away from Lu Ming, as if he had teleported. The silver spear continued to stab at Lu Ming. So fast. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Yi Yu's speed was also very fast. Although it was not a shift, it was not much slower than his Greater Shift Art. Lu Ming did not hesitate, and continued to use the Greater Shift Art to dodge. At the same time, he continued to erase the spiritual intelligence of the secret skill runes to increase his cultivation base. All of you, spread out and seal the void. Don't let him use the Greater Shift Art. Yi Yu shouted. His voice reached the ears of the core disciples of the ancient sorcerer shrine and the heavenly palace, as well as the other sky prides of the heavenly human tribe. That's right. Let's move. Quick. The ancient secret skills of the ancient sorcerer shrine spread out, and emitted violent waves. They were using their powerful energy to seal the void. Yi Yu would not be suppressed. Instead, he could suppress Lu Ming. This gave the people of the ancient sorcerer shrine hope. They stopped running away and cooperated with Yi Yu. At the same time, the core disciples of the heavenly palace and the sky prides of the heavenly human tribe all joined in the fight. With so many experts making a move, the entire sky became as sticky as a paste. It was very difficult for Lu Ming to cast the transference skill as he could not break the space. However, the people of the Great Sorcerer Shrine would not let them succeed. Don't let them succeed. Break them up. The Grand Sorcerer Shrine Master shouted. He led the experts of the Grand Sorcerer Shrine, and charged toward the people of the Ancient Sorcerer Shrine. They wanted to break the seal that the Ancient Sorcerer Shrine had on Lu Ming, so that Lu Ming could move freely. Lu Ming was the key to their victory. They could not let anything happen to Lu Ming. If Lu Ming joined in the fight, the outcome would be unpredictable. Even if they won, they would have to pay a heavy price. Stop them. This is our last chance. If we don't stop them, we will all die. Fight to the death. The experts of the ancient sorcerer shrine roared. Their eyes were bloodshot. Some of them even started to burn their origin energy to increase their combat strength to the maximum. Fight to the death, regardless of the consequences. The people of the ancient sorcerer shrine knew that this was their last chance. If they did not seize the opportunity, they would be killed when the Grand Sorcerer Shrine's strength increased. They had to seize the opportunity to seal off Lu Ming. Once Yi Yu killed Lu Ming, they would have a chance to turn the tables. After Yi Yu killed Lu Ming, they would be able to obtain the treasure that Lu Ming had that could suppress them. Then, they could use it to suppress the people of the Grand Sorcerer Shrine. That would be a great victory for them, and all their losses would be worth it. At the thought of this, the people of the ancient Sorcerer Shrine went crazy. They attacked with all their might. Although the ancient Sorcerer Shrine had fewer people than the Grand Sorcerer Shrine, and they had to divert their attention to seal off the space, they still managed to hold off the people of the Grand Sorcerer Shrine. Kill. Yi Yu roared. His golden hair flew in the wind. He held a silver spear in his hand and charged toward Lu Ming like an invincible god of war. Lu Ming could not use the teleportation skill. He was slower than Yi Yu in terms of speed and could not escape. Chapter 4167. Lu Ming could not escape, so he could only take the blow head-on. Buzz. The obsidian staff vibrated, and emitted a terrifying chill. It was like a frozen mountain as it smashed towards Yi Yu. At the same time, the gale pearl continued to draw out strong winds, turning them into wind blades that slashed towards Yi Yu. Even so, Lu Ming was no match for Yi Yu. The wind blades were defeated, and the obsidian staff vibrated. Lu Ming retreated quickly. His body was hit by the remaining force, and there were wounds on his body that were bleeding profusely. However, before Lu Ming could stabilize himself, Yi Yu's attack came again. This time, the silver spear turned into hundreds of spear shadows and pierced towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming tried his best to block it, but he could not block it completely. His body was pierced by a few spear shadows. Lu Ming's body flew out and he coughed up blood. A hole had appeared in his body, connecting the front and back of his body. Lu Ming kept coughing up blood. He was hit directly, but it still caused him a lot of injuries. Fortunately, Lu Ming had a taboo body. There were no vital points on his body. Although there were a few holes, it did not affect his combat strength. Great! The experts of the ancient sorcerer temple were overjoyed when they saw this. As long as Yi Yu killed Lu Ming, the scales of victory would tip towards them. Oh no! The people of the great sorcerer temple were the opposite. They could not help but feel anxious and increase their attacks. The experts from both sides fought fiercely. It was extremely tragic, and people were constantly being killed. Seeing Lu Ming severely injured, Yi Yu's eyes became even more ferocious. His killing intent intensified, and his attacks became even more violent. Soon continued to destroy it. In the face of such a situation, Lu Ming's eyes were still calm. The reason why it was so one-sided when he faced Yi Yu was that he had used a portion of his taboo power to destroy the intelligence in the secret skill rune. Otherwise, he would not have been defeated so quickly. He could have resisted for a while longer. However, even so, Lu Ming did not plan to stop destroying the secret skill rune's intelligence, because this was the key to turning defeat into victory. After being sent flying, Lu Ming's figure flashed rapidly, flying backward. Lu Ming, let me help you. Qiuqiu's anxious voice came from his wrist. Don't move, Qiuqiu. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Qiuqiu. Qiuqiu had the strength of the top of the 9th godly emperor layer. He hadn't broken through to the great supreme god layer. Even if Qiuqiu helped, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Lu Ming could not let Qiuqiu take any risks. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes lit up again. This was because more than 20 runes had been obliterated by Lu Ming. Previously, Lu Ming had erased most of the talismans of the first great supreme god layer. The lower the cultivation level, the easier it was to erase the talismans. Only a few had the strength of the second great supreme god layer. But this time, there was a talisman of the third great supreme god layer. It was the Great Aurora Technique. Lu Ming needed to use the Great Aurora Technique. Once the intelligence in the secret skill runes was obliterated, Lu Ming immediately integrated these secret skill runes into his cells. In an instant, Lu Ming grasped those skills. At the same time, a powerful strength emerged and rapidly increased Lu Ming's cultivation level. Soon I'll break through to the top of the 8th godly emperor layer. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. At this point, he could start breaking through to the 9th godly emperor layer. At that moment, Yi Yu's voice was filled with murder. His silhouette flickered as he moved towards Lu Ming. Over 100 spear shadows moved towards Lu Ming. It covered a large area and Lu Ming had nowhere to retreat. However, at this moment, Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. Great Aurora Technique, whispered Lu Ming. A moment later, his body changed drastically. His flesh and blood turned into a beam of light. A beam of light. Swish. With a flash of the aurora, Lu Ming's figure appeared 100 miles away, dodging Yi Yu's attack. The hundreds of spear shadows that Yi Yu thrust out pierced the air. How is that possible? Yi Yu's eyes were wide open as if he had seen a ghost. He was staring at Lu Ming. Everyone who saw this scene in the surroundings felt the same way. The Great Aurora Technique. How did Lu Ming use the Great Aurora Technique? They were sure that Lu Ming had used the Great Aurora Technique to dodge Yi Yu's attack. How did Lu Ming suddenly know how to use the Great Aurora Technique? Had he just learned it? But how was that possible? This was an ancient secret technique. It was extremely difficult to cultivate. Furthermore, the Aurora art was ranked in the top 100 among the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. It was extremely mysterious and the difficulty of cultivating it was also extremely high. How could he learn it in such a short time? Could it be that Lu Ming had already mastered the Great Aurora Technique? But if Lu Ming had already mastered the Great Aurora technique, why didn't he use it before? Why did he wait until now to use it in the face of such a crisis? It didn't make sense. In short, these people were dumbfounded. Yi Yu was the first to react. He roared, "Mu Yin, stop. I order you." "Idiot." Lu Ming's disdainful voice came out. He used the Great Aurora technique and appeared in another area in a flash, distancing himself from Yi Yu. Although the Great Aurora technique couldn't directly move through the void like the Great Teleportation technique and ignore the obstruction of physical objects, the Great Aurora technique was extremely fast in short-distance movement. It was like a real beam of light. It was quite similar to Yi Yu's movement technique. Despicable scum. Yi Yu gritted his teeth. He couldn't wait to skin Lu Ming and pull out the tendons of such a despicable person. Yes, in his eyes, Lu Ming was incomparably despicable. He was their slave. Such a person dared to contradict him time and time again, and even dared to attack him. It was simply unforgivable. He unleashed all his strength and rushed toward Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming used the Great Aurora technique to dodge, and his speed wasn't inferior to his. He couldn't catch up with Lu Ming at all for a moment. Lu Ming dodged while taking out a part of the secret skill runes to obliterate the spiritual intelligence within. Both sides were in a stalemate. The experts of the Great Sorcerer Temple attacked crazily, while the experts of the Ancient Sorcerer Temple defended desperately. In their eyes, what they needed to do now was to buy time for Yi Yu. Hold on, we must hold on. That kid is in a passive position. If this continues, he will definitely be killed by young Master Yi Yu. That's right. What we need to do is to buy time for young Master Yi Yu and not be disturbed. You must hold on. The experts of the Ancient Sorcerer Temple roared and defended desperately. In this way, the battle between both sides became even more tragic. The number of experts who died was also increasing rapidly. In the sky, ancient secret skills were shattered from time to time, turning into secret skill runes and floating in the air. In the blink of an eye, a few minutes had passed. Done. Lu Ming was elated. He had destroyed the spiritual intelligence of another batch of ancient mystic skill runes. Moreover, in this batch of secret skill runes, there were 2 third-level Emperor God secret skill runes. This time, I will definitely be able to break through. Lu Ming was determined. Chapter 4168. After dodging for a while, Lu Ming finally destroyed more than 20 talismans. Among them, there were 2 talismans of the 3rd Great Supreme God layer. He didn't hesitate to fuse those talismans with his cells. Boom. Immediately, those cells erupted like volcanoes. Pure and powerful energy surged into Lu Ming's body, penetrating into each of his cells and strengthening the forbidden strength in them. Lu Ming's taboo power reached saturation all of a sudden. "Break through!" shouted Lu Ming. He started breaking through to the 9th Godly Emperor layer. His body was shaking violently. Every cell in his body was shaking. His potential was being stimulated unceasingly. His aura continued to climb, and when it reached a limit, it suddenly soared. He had broken through. Lu Ming had finally broken through to the 9th Godly Emperor layer with the help of 60 talismans. It was all thanks to the few 3rd stage Archgod secret skill runes. The energy contained in them was too pure and powerful. That was why Lu Ming had a breakthrough in one go. How is that possible? Yi Yu, who was chasing after Lu Ming, could not help but widen his eyes in disbelief. Lu Ming had broken through while fighting against him. How was that possible? Could it be that Lu Ming kept dodging and retreating just now because he wanted to buy time for a breakthrough? "You want to die? I won't let that happen in front of me," shouted Yi Yu furiously. His handsome face looked even more ferocious. Lu Ming had broken through while fighting against him. That was a slap to his face. It was a great humiliation for him. Wasn't it obvious that Lin Fan was stepping on him? Who was he? He was a peerless genius of the Heavenly Human clan. A despicable human dared to step on him? He couldn't stand it. His eyes were red. He dashed toward Lu Ming with all his might, hollering, "Bastard, don't run if you have the guts. Fight me. If you want to fight, I'll fulfill your wish." This time Lu Ming stopped and put away the Gale Pearl. Holding the obsidian staff in one hand, he stood in the air and looked coldly at Yi Yu. He had already broken through to the 9th godly emperor layer. He was as strong as Yi. At the same level, Lu Ming wasn't afraid of anyone. So what if he was a peerless monster of the heavenly human tribe? So what if you have a breakthrough? You'll still die. Kill. Yi let out a long roar. The silver spear emitted a dazzling radiance and pierced towards Lu Ming. The speed was so fast that it was unbelievable. An ordinary person would have been pierced through by the spear before they could even react. However, Lu Ming was able to clearly capture the trajectory of the long spear. Forbidden energy poured into the mysterious ice staff, and using the staff as a spear, he stabbed out. Clang! When the mysterious ice rod and the silver spear collided, an earth-shattering explosion erupted. Waves of terrifying energy swept out in all directions. Wherever it passed, the space would constantly explode. Wang, wang. The two weapons shook violently. Then Lu Ming and Yi Yu's bodies shook violently at the same time, and they were both pushed back. This time the fight had ended in a draw. Damn it! Yi Yu roared in his heart, glaring at Lu Ming. He blocked it. It's a draw. The people around them were also astonished. However, they were astonished in a completely different way. The people of the ancient sorcerer shrine were astonished and terrified. Lu Ming had broken through to the 9th godly emperor layer, and was now able to compete with Yi Yu. That way, they had lost the advantage that they had gained with great difficulty. Previously, Lu Ming had killed hundreds of ancient sorcerer shrine cultivators. In terms of the number of ancient sorcerer shrine cultivators, they were already behind the great sorcerer shrine. If Lu Ming and Yi Yu had a draw, the situation would be very disadvantageous for them. On the other hand, the Grand Magus God Temple was surprised and delighted at the same time. Lu Ming had broken through to the 9th godly emperor layer and blocked Yi Yu's attack. That way they had the upper hand. Everyone, don't rush to attack. Slow down. The great sorcerer shrine ordered. Now that they had the upper hand, they did not need to rush to fight with the people of the ancient sorcerer shrine. They only needed to slow down and use their advantage in numbers. Some of them could join forces to deal with the people of the ancient sorcerer shrine. The longer the fight, the more obvious their advantage would be. It could be said that Lu Ming's breakthrough had caused a fundamental reversal of the situation between the two parties. I don't believe it. Kill. Yi Yu roared and continued to attack Lu Ming with the silver spear in his hand. Lu Ming was not afraid at all, and charged forward with the obsidian staff in his hand. Clang! Clang! The two of them engaged in an intense battle. They continued to attack each other at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged dozens of blows. After dozens of blows, there was still no clear winner. However, after 30 blows, Lu Ming began to gain the upper hand. Lu Ming had just broken through to the 9th godly emperor layer, but as the battle continued, Lu Ming's potential was constantly stimulated and turned into forbidden energy. Lu Ming's cultivation level was stabilized and his combat strength was slowly increasing. After the breakthrough, he could use the power with ease. Also, the level of the obsidian staff was definitely higher than the silver spear in his opponent's hand. As Lu Ming's cultivation level was stabilized, the power of the obsidian staff became stronger and stronger. It began to suppress the silver spear. In the blink of an eye, another 20 blows had been exchanged. Clang! Another earth-shattering roar sounded, and the two of them retreated. This time, Lu Ming only took 3 steps back, while Yi Yu took 7 steps back. No, impossible, impossible! Yi Yu roared and his golden hair fluttered in the wind. He seemed to be unable to accept the result. He was no match for Lu Ming when they were at the same level. Who was he? He was from the Heavenly Human clan. On the other hand, Lu Ming was merely a human, a despicable human. From the name, it was obvious that the Heavenly Human clan had the word Tian in front of it. It meant that they were suppressing the human clan. But now he, a peerless genius of the Heavenly Human clan, was being suppressed by a human of the same level. He was proud and arrogant, so he couldn't accept it. The people of the ancient sorcerer shrine were also feeling depressed. The situation was worse than they had expected. If Yi Yu was defeated by Lu Ming, the ancient sorcerer shrine would be destroyed. Because Lu Ming had a treasure that could suppress them. even though there were cultivators of the fourth or fifth great supreme god layer among them. Under normal circumstances, they could kill Lu Ming with a single slap. However, they would be suppressed. Once they were suppressed, they would be slapped to death by Lu Ming. It's over, it's over. The strong cultivators of the ancient sorcerer shrine were terrified. Did God want them to die? Of course, the people of the great sorcerer shrine were the opposite. They were extremely happy that they had chosen to cooperate with Lu Ming. Nothing is impossible. In my opinion, man can conquer nature. The celestial race is not invincible, said Lu Ming coldly. His chi became even stronger. He took a step forward and moved towards Yu. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.